You know this page. You've probably seen it 1,000 times. It's that quick, kind of mysterious pause you hit right before you get to the website you actually wanted to visit. But what is really happening in that moment? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the internet's most common and most important little pit stops. Right? You click a link, you're ready to start reading or shopping, and then, bam, you're stopped by this screen. We've all been there. But have you ever stopped to think about what this page is actually doing in that split second before it finally lets you through? And it all kicks off with these three little words, just a moment. This phrase? It's our doorway into a hidden, super fast digital process that's, believe it or not, crucial for how the whole modern internet works. This is way more than just a loading screen. It's a gatekeeper. Okay, so let's start by digging into this pause. Instead of just getting annoyed by it, let's treat it for what it is, a really fascinating piece of internet machinery that's totally worth a closer look. So the scenario is always the same. You've typed in a web address, in this case, bayforward.com, or you clicked on a link. But before you see that homepage, you get intercepted. You're basically put in this digital waiting room, but only for a second or two. Now, this isn't an error. It's an intentional and, as we'll see, a very, very important step. And that brings us to the big question, why? I mean, why does this page even need to exist in the first place? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The website you're trying to get to is protecting itself from a constant and totally invisible threat. And here is the villain of our story, malicious bots. Now, these aren't some kind of physical robots, They're automated software programs, and they're designed to do all sorts of nasty stuff, like scrape data, crash servers, or hunt for security holes. They're a constant menace to pretty much every single site on the web. This slide just lays it out perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the legitimate users. That's you, that's the welcome traffic. But on the right, you've got these malicious bots, the unwanted traffic. This security page, it's the filter that sits right in the middle, and its whole job is to let you in and keep them out. So how does it do that? How does it tell the good guys from the bad guys? Well, that brings us to what we can call the security handshake. Let's break down the exact things that are happening in that brief moment while you're waiting. The page itself kind of tells us what's going on. It's like a three-step dance. First, it kicks off the security check. Second, it runs a bunch of lightning-fast tests on your browser to make sure you're not a bot. And third, once you pass, and you almost always do, it flashes verification successful and gets ready to send you on your way. But how does it test you? Well, the page gives us a huge clue right here. It needs JavaScript and cookies. Here's the cool part. It uses JavaScript to run this tiny, invisible challenge for your browser, something kind of like solving a simple math problem. Most real human browsers can do this in a flash, but a lot of those simple bots, they just weren't built with that skill, so they fail the test. It's a really clever way to check for a human pulse. And then there's this thing, this long string of characters called the Ray ID. The best way to think about this is like a unique digital ticket for this one specific security check. It's a traceable record, a little entry in a logbook that proves your connection was verified at a very specific moment in time. It's like the system stamping your digital passport. So all of this begs the question, who is this digital guardian? The website you're trying to visit probably didn't build this complicated system themselves. So who is this third party that's standing guard at the door? And the answer is usually sitting right there at the bottom of the page, Cloudflare. Now, if you haven't heard of them, they're one of the biggest internet infrastructure companies on the planet. Millions and millions of websites rely on them to be their guardian in the cloud, protecting them from that constant storm of online threats. And Cloudflare's job is really two things. First, just like we've been talking about, is security, blocking all those malicious bots. But their second job is performance, making sure websites respond super quickly for legitimate users, like you. So, kind of ironically, that brief pause for a security check is actually part of a bigger system that's designed to make your overall experience faster. All right, so let's bring this all home. With everything we know now, I think it's time we completely reframe how we think about that little moment of waiting. This right here is the key takeaway. That just a moment page, it's not a bug. It's not some annoying roadblock designed just to slow you down. It is a shield. It is a guardian at the gate doing a critical split-second job to protect the website you want to visit, and that makes sure it stays safe, online, and available for all of us. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought. The next time you see the screen, Maybe instead of feeling impatient, you'll see it for what it really is, a tiny, almost invisible part of a global immune system for the web. So you gotta ask yourself, is this brief pause really that high a price to pay for a faster, safer internet for all of us? Something to think about. Thanks for diving into this with me.